Hello and welcome to Stencil Sunday, hosted by Christy from Funky Junk Inspiration and Mary from The Painted Peach. Today's project is this high chair. It was meant to be kept out of the landfill. It was a family heirloom, but no babies, so it was meant to live in a garden along with these items. So my job is to make it work in the garden. So my thoughts were to go along with the idea of plants and babies, things you would say to both. So I started with the tray. I did a stamped background, and then I started using some stencils. I'm using these script stencils from JRV Stencils. I have a love-hate relationship with them. I love them because the letters are different. I also hate them because the letters are different. Some of them are really weird, and I have to end up modifying them a little bit just to make sure that it's legible. But I also love that you can kind of bunch them together and it looks like you're just writing continuously. It's like really like script. And I hate that I don't have the patience to let them dry enough so that I can, put them together without ruining the previous one. So I have no patience. I should know better. Have been doing stencils for years, but yet here we are with a messed up stencil. So I am stenciling "Grow Baby Grow" on the top of this high chair tray. I needed to do lots of touch up in order to make this look right. And I do an initial touch up because I plan on doing some more stenciling on it, and then I come back and do even more later. I use some random stencils from my stash to do a few little flowers on here as well. I would have preferred to use some gray ink from my stamps to go underneath, but sometimes I'm working from a couple different locations and my gray ink was not with me. So I used the black and I tried to be light-handed, but I do like layering stencils sometimes over stamps or vice versa, stamps over stencils. I enjoy using both mediums. But, when I'm looking for a bold line or something, I go to the stencil. I'm also working on a curved surface here and not using adhesive, so I'm just holding it down very carefully. And out of frame, I add another little flower up in the corner. My initial thought was to paint all the upright surfaces green to mimic stems, and I'm taking advantage of any area that I can find. This looks really yellow, but it's more of a creamy color, and I'm going to paint on this area. I'm going to do a little blend with the ivory color and also the blue. And this is silk paint from Dixie Belle, so it has a built-in primer and sealer. So I'm also going to add an extra coat on top. I actually did 2 coats of gator hide, which is water resistant. So I think this little piece has the best chance it can to live outdoors. But I'm also not worried about painting directly on the wood because of the built-in primer. So I just do a little blend on here, and my plan is to put the words Lil Sprout. It was challenging to come up with words that were appropriate, phrases that were appropriate for both babies and plants, but I thought that was a cute one. So I continue my blending, and then I begin to stencil. I use a silkscreen stencil. I love using these because I don't have to worry so much about getting all the excess paint off of my brush. As a matter of fact, I don't worry about that at all, and that makes it a lot easier to get good coverage in there. So these are little raindrops. This was a Dixie Belle silkscreen stencil, and I think the name of it is called Patterns. But I thought these little raindrops would be really cute and appropriate, and I used the same color that I used on the tray. I have this stencil that was really inexpensive, letters, and I think for my needs, I'm just going to cut it apart because it'll be a lot easier to manipulate this stencil because it's a little bit heavier around those spindles and stuff while I am working. In order to space things out properly, I start on the end with my last letter. At this point, I'm just counting letters and spaces, just even though they aren't the right letters, just to see if I have room and how much room I want to make for this expression. I'm sure you're starting to sense a pattern with me. Of course, I didn't tape it off on either side. If I was a little more meticulous, I would. However, I am taking the time to move down to the other end and start the other word before I carry on. I've learned a little bit of a lesson along the way, so I'm just holding them up just to kind of space out where I think that would be. I'm using these letters because they're sort of primary, like a child's, reader or something. So, or flashcards, something like that. And this part, it doesn't have to be perfect. None of it has to be perfect because it's an art installation. So I'm not particularly worried about it, but I do want it to be cute, obviously. In between waiting for letters to dry, because this definitely will smear, I start another stencil on the seat of the high chair. With the tray being on there, you won't see everything, so I just thought that would be a good opportunity to use that black paint also and do those pots. But I'm going back and forth between the words, giving them a little bit of opportunity to dry and taking the best advantage of my time. This stencil is an inexpensive stencil. I remember buying it during COVID at Joann's, so it's real thin. I do mess up the far right one, and I end up coming back, painting over it, and doing it again. Because it's such a fine design in there with the plants that did kind of tear a little bit. I improvise and use the curve of a different letter and block it off to make a little apostrophe. Now I have another stencil, and this time I'm going to use Posca pens. This is such a fine stencil, and I think it would just be a lot easier So another phrase that I thought might be appropriate for both babies and plants, are you thirsty? So, or do you want a drink? I think that was what it ended up being. So I'm just, again, using that Posca pen through the stencil and doing the lettering this way. I don't have to worry about it being dry, so it allows me to work a little quicker. I kind of use the top of the Highchair as a guideline as far as trying to keep my letters level. I paint over my plant so I can do that again. I had stenciled a few flowers on the bottom, and now I'm using that Posca pen to outline those shapes a little bit. I think it'll give them a little more definition. I end up doing the same thing on the tray. I'm using the same plant on the far left, only I'm flipping the stencil this time and using it on this end. I don't think anybody's going to notice it's the same plant, do you? Remember how this little high chair started out? I think it looks pretty cute. Let me know what you think in the comments. I know the client was really happy with it. This was one of a bunch of pieces that I did for her. This is my Tuesday Talk channel, and if you haven't subscribed, I'd greatly appreciate it. I do live crafting videos every Tuesday. If you're interested in furniture flipping, hop over to Statement Designs, which is also my channel where I do some furniture flipping there. And if you want even more great content and you want to hear some people talk about furniture flipping and get involved in the conversation, then head over to the Flippin' Bunch and subscribe there. We do podcasts every Wednesday night. Thank you so much for watching today. Don't forget to like and share. Also hit the subscribe and the notifications bell too. You can find Statement Designs on the web at www.statementdesigns.org and on social media as Statement Designs. Stay well.